like Caitlin Clark has broken the internet yet again.
Caitlin Clark just broke the internet again. And this time, it's not even about basketball. While the WNBA is literally on the verge of a strike, while players are fighting over contracts, Caitlin Clark is making more money sitting at home during the off-season than most players make all year. And nobody wants to talk about it. Let me show you exactly what's happening right now. Panini just dropped an exclusive Caitlin Clark Chronicle collection. $85 for 32 trading cards. It's sold out at Target in less than 24 hours. Dan Patrick's show spent 10 minutes discussing whether people should even open the packages, because they might be worth more sealed. Think about that for a second. A rookie trading card set is being treated like a retirement investment. Here's where it gets absolutely insane. While Angel Reese and other WNBA players are publicly supporting a potential strike over pay inequality, Caitlin Clark is generating revenue streams that don't even require her to step on a court. She's in Indianapolis training, staying completely silent on the strike situation, while her merchandise is breaking sales records during Christmas week. The timing of this release is not a coincidence. Panini knows exactly what they are doing. Release a limited Caitlin Clark collection right before Christmas. Right when the WNBA is facing its biggest labor dispute in years. Right when every sports media outlet is desperately searching for women's basketball content. It's brilliant marketing, but it's also exposing something the league doesn't want to admit. Caitlin Clark is not just the face of the WNBA, she is the WNBA's entire business model right now, and that terrifies everyone. Let's talk about what's actually in this collection, because this is where it gets really interesting. 50 WNBA cards, 10 lifestyle cards, autographs, ultra-rare color blast inserts, exclusive green halo parallels. This isn't a simple trading card set. This is a collector's investment package, designed for people who understand that Caitlin Clark memorabilia will appreciate in value. Dan Patrick, who has covered sports for 4 decades, told his entire staff not to open their packages. A professional sports broadcaster is treating a rookie trading card collection like it's a first-edition comic book. When was the last time that happened in women's sports? When was the last time that happened in any sport for a player who hasn't even finished their rookie contract?
This is what Panini does. They do things different, better than anybody. Maybe if somebody wants to open theirs up and then I could look and see what it looks like.
I think Todd should have to open his up because
I want to keep mine in mint condition.
I don't know.
I mean,
I'd rather keep it in the plastic.
you don't. I mean, that's Seton kind of.
I think it's meant to not be opened, even though the
No,
cards
it's
are
meant to
inside.
be open.
Open and looked at.
No, it's meant to be open, looked at. But I'm going to keep mine wrapped.
I'm going to keep mine wrapped too, since I'm getting a pie in the face.
Here's the part that's making players uncomfortable. Caitlin Clark is generating this level of commercial success while actively avoiding the strike conversation. She was at Team USA training camp in Durham, North Carolina, just 10 days ago. She's clearly engaged with basketball. She's clearly maintaining relationships with USA basketball. But on the WNBA labor dispute? Complete radio silence. Some people are saying Caitlin Clark might be the reason the strike hasn't happened yet. Now, I can't confirm that, but think about the logic. If you're the WNBA Players Association, do you really want to strike when your biggest star, your biggest draw, your biggest revenue generator, is staying neutral? If Caitlin Clark publicly supported the strike, it would legitimize the entire movement. If she opposed it, it would destroy morale. So she's doing neither. She's just making money, and that's the reality check nobody wants to hear. Caitlin Clark doesn't need the WNBA as much as the WNBA needs Caitlin Clark. Let me show you exactly how big the gap is between Caitlin Clark and everyone else in terms of commercial appeal. Target sold out of this collection before most people even knew it existed. Dick's Sporting Goods has it listed as available soon, which means they are waiting to see the demand numbers before they commit to inventory levels. Panini's website crashed multiple times on launch day for a WNBA player during the off-season, when there's no games happening. Compare that to literally any other WNBA player. Angel Reese has brand deals. Aja Wilson has endorsements. Brianna Stewart has international recognition. But none of them, and I mean absolutely none of them, could sell an $85 trading card collection in 24 hours during Christmas week, when people are spending money on actual gifts for their families. The commercial gap between Caitlin Clark and every other player in the league is so enormous that it's starting to create actual structural problems for the WNBA's salary negotiations. How do you argue for equal pay increases across the board when one player is generating 10 times the revenue of everyone else combined? How do you structure a collective bargaining agreement when the entire league's financial health depends on whether one person stays or leaves? These are real questions the WNBA Players Association is dealing with right now. And nobody has good answers.
And it literally pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What?
Sabrina? No.
No, there's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. We have a lot of badasses in our league.
Yeah.
Hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
Yeah.
or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Now, let's address the elephant in the room that everybody keeps dancing around. Sophie Cunningham went on a podcast and said something that made a lot of people very uncomfortable. She said, and I'm quoting here, "Anyone who argues Caitlin Clark isn't the face of the league is dumb." She didn't say it politely. She didn't hedge her words. She just said it. And the response from certain corners of the WNBA community was immediate backlash. Because here's what Sophie Cunningham actually said without saying it directly. The WNBA's growth over the past year has nothing to do with the league's overall talent level. Nothing to do with the competitive balance. Nothing to do with the quality of play improving. It has everything to do with one player bringing mainstream attention that the league couldn't generate in 28 years of existence. That's a brutal truth for players who have been in the league for a decade. That's a devastating reality for legends who built the WNBA when nobody cared. And it's an uncomfortable fact for people who want to believe the league's success is a collective achievement, rather than being driven by one generational talent who happens to be exactly what mainstream sports media was waiting for. But Sophie Cunningham is absolutely right. And the fact that she had to defend that statement shows you exactly how fragile the WNBA's internal politics have become. Here's where the Panini situation connects to the bigger strike conversation. If the WNBA Players Association goes on strike, they lose leverage with every day that passes. Caitlin Clark doesn't need a WNBA season to make money. She's got trading card collections selling out at Target. She's got endorsement deals that pay more than her rookie contract. She's got Team USA commitments that keep her in the public eye, regardless of whether the WNBA plays games or not. But players like Angel Ree, players like Dirk Hamby, players who are fighting for better conditions and higher baseline salaries, they need the WNBA season to happen. They need the platform. They need the visibility. Without games, they lose negotiating power. Without media coverage, they lose public support. And without Caitlin Clark publicly backing their position, they lose the one voice that could actually move the needle with league owners. So Caitlin Clark staying silent isn't neutral. It's a strategic position that benefits her at the expense of everyone else. And nobody wants to say that out loud, because the moment you criticize Caitlin Clark, you get accused of being jealous, or bitter, or unable to accept that someone is more talented than you. But let's be honest about what's happening here. Caitlin Clark is operating like a superstar in a league that wants to pretend everyone is equal. She's generating revenue like an NFL quarterback in a league that pays like minor league baseball. And she's making business decisions that prioritize her individual brand over collective bargaining leverage. That's not criticism. That's just observation. The question is, what happens next? Does the WNBA Players Association force a strike without Caitlin Clark's support and risk alienating their biggest star? Do they back down and accept a weaker deal because they know they can't win without her? Or does Caitlin Clark eventually break her silence and pick a side, knowing that whatever she chooses will define the next decade of the league's labor relations? Right now, we don't have answers. But we do have an $85 trading card collection that sold out in one day. We have Dan Patrick telling people to keep it sealed because it will appreciate in value. We have Sophie Cunningham publicly stating what everyone knows but nobody wants to admit. And we have a league on the verge of a strike during what should be its biggest growth period in history. Caitlin Clark doesn't just break the internet. She breaks the entire economic model of women's basketball every time she does anything. And the WNBA still hasn't figured out whether that's their biggest asset or their biggest problem. So here's my take, and I want to know if you agree or disagree in the comments. Caitlin Clark is handling this perfectly from a business perspective. She's staying out of league politics, focusing on her training, letting her commercial value grow naturally, and positioning herself as bigger than the WNBA itself. That's smart. That's how you build generational wealth in professional sports. But it's also creating a situation where the league's future depends entirely on one person's decisions. And that's dangerous for everyone. If Caitlin Clark gets injured, if she decides to play overseas, if she just gets tired of the WNBA's internal drama and walks away, the entire league's financial structure collapses overnight. Not because the other players aren't talented. Not because the basketball isn't competitive. But because the mainstream audience that finally started paying attention is paying attention to her, not to the league itself, that's the uncomfortable reality the WNBA has to deal with. And that's why this Panini collection matters way more than just some trading cards. It's proof that Caitlin Clark has transcended the league that drafted her. She's not a WNBA player who happens to be famous. She's a famous athlete who happens to play in the WNBA, and there's a massive difference between those two things. The strike situation is going to resolve eventually. The WNBA and the Players Association will reach some kind of agreement. But the Caitlin Clark situation? That's not going away. That's the defining challenge of the WNBA for the next decade. How do you build a sustainable league when all your growth depends on one player? How do you negotiate fair labor contracts when one person generates more revenue than everyone else combined? How do you maintain competitive balance when the financial gap between your star and everyone else is larger than any other professional sports league in the world? Nobody has figured this out yet. Not the league. Not the players. Not the media. And definitely not the fans who keep arguing about whether Caitlin Clark is overrated while buying her trading cards for $85 during Christmas week. So, let me ask you directly. Do you think Caitlin Clark should publicly support the strike? Do you think she owes that to the other players? Or do you think she's smart to stay quiet and focus on building her own brand? Because this isn't a simple question. This is the question that's going to define the next era of women's basketball. And your answer says a lot about whether you think professional sports should prioritize collective success or individual achievement. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. And be honest. Don't just say what you think other people want to hear. Say what you actually believe, because this conversation is bigger than basketball. This is about labor rights, economic leverage, and whether one superstar has a responsibility to use their platform for collective good, or whether they are allowed to just focus on their own success. The WNBA has never faced anything like this before. No women's sports league has. And how this plays out over the next 6 months is going to set the precedent for every future labor negotiation in women's professional sports. So yeah, an $85 trading card collection matters. It matters a lot more than you think. Caitlin Clark is out here making history while sitting at home during the off-season. Meanwhile, players are preparing to strike for better pay. The contrast couldn't be more obvious, and the fact that nobody wants to talk about it directly, that tells you everything you need to know about how uncomfortable this situation really is. All right, that's where we're at right now. Caitlin Clark sold out an exclusive trading card collection at Target in one day. Sophie Cunningham said anyone who doesn't think she's the face of the league is stupid. The WNBA is potentially heading toward a strike, and absolutely nobody knows how this plays out. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you think I'm right or completely off base. And make sure you're subscribed, cause this WNBA off-season is about to get real interesting, real fast. Until next time, I'm out.